Satoru Gojo was just having a normal day in Shinjuku. He'd just bought his favorite sweet Kikufuku mochi and was heading back to Tokyo Jujutsu High to annoy Megumi. But as he turned down a suspiciously quiet alleyway, his foot caught on a weird, glitching shadow on the pavement. Before he could even process the cursed energy, or lack thereof, he fell straight through the solid concrete. For a split second, Gojo thought someone had trapped him inside a domain expansion. But when he opened his eyes, he found himself standing in a massive, empty maze of yellow wallpaper, stained carpets, and buzzing fluorescent lights that stretched endlessly in every direction. The smell of mold instantly hit him. Gojo slowly adjusted his blindfold and looked around with the 6 eyes. Normally, he could detect cursed energy signatures across entire cities. But here, there was nothing. No cursed spirits, no humans, no life at all. Just infinite space. At first, Gojo wasn't worried. In fact, he looked almost amused. He'd casually call out for Yuji and Megumi, expecting some kind of prank. But after walking for nearly 20 minutes and seeing the exact same hallway over and over again, even he'd start realizing something was deeply wrong. The geometry of level 0 didn't obey logic. Hallways bent when he wasn't looking. Rooms shifted positions. Corners stretched impossibly far. Even the 6 eyes struggled to fully process the environment because the level itself constantly distorted space. And for the first time in years, Gojo couldn't instantly understand something. Curious, he'd test the walls with blue, creating a powerful gravitational pull that ripped chunks of wallpaper and concrete inward. The entire hallway would violently collapse, only for the walls to slowly regenerate seconds later, as if the backrooms itself were repairing the damage. Gojo would grin. Okay, this place is interesting. Then the lights would suddenly go out. Complete darkness swallowed the hallway. Even without sight, Gojo's infinity remained active automatically, protecting him from anything approaching. But then he'd hear it. Distant footsteps, not human footsteps. Smilers. Rows of glowing eyes and massive teeth would begin appearing inside the darkness all around him. Normally, creatures like this would terrify anyone trapped in level 0, but Gojo would simply stand there with his hands in his pockets, completely relaxed. The smilers would rush him all at once and instantly stop. Their claws would freeze inches away from Gojo's body, unable to bypass infinity. No matter how hard they pushed forward, the infinite space between them and Gojo prevented contact completely. Gojo would actually laugh. You guys don't really understand personal space, huh? Then, with a simple snap of his fingers, he'd activate Curse Technique Reversal, Red. A violent explosion of repulsive force would blast through the darkness, erasing entire sections of the hallway and vaporizing every smiler instantly. But the backrooms didn't like that. The walls around Gojo would begin glitching violently. The floor beneath him would distort like corrupted video footage before suddenly swallowing him whole again. He'd fall for several seconds before crashing into another level entirely. Unlike the yellow maze of level 0, this place looked like an abandoned industrial warehouse, stretching infinitely into darkness. Concrete walls, rusted pipes, flickering lights, a thick layer of fog hugging the floor. Gojo would immediately notice something strange. The air itself felt heavier here, not cursed energy, but something ancient. As he explored, he'd find abandoned crates filled with almond water. Gojo would casually pick one up, sniff it, and immediately decide it tasted disgusting. After wandering for hours, he'd begin encountering entities far more aggressive than the ones in level 0. Hounds, facelings, skin stealers lurking inside the fog. Most of them would die before even reaching him. Some would get crushed by blue's gravitational pull. Others would be ripped apart by precise bursts of red. But eventually, Gojo would realize something terrifying about the backrooms. The entities never stopped coming. No matter how many he destroyed, more always appeared, and worse. The backrooms was learning. The lights overhead would begin flickering faster. Whenever Gojo prepared an attack, hallways would rearrange themselves to isolate him. Entire rooms would disappear behind him the second he turned around. It was adapting to him. Then Gojo would discover a strange metal door hidden behind a maze of storage rooms. Painted across it in massive, childish letters were the words, "Fun." Gojo, being Gojo, would immediately open it without hesitation. The second he stepped through, loud party music exploded around him. Bright balloons covered the ceiling. Tables overflowed with cakes and candy. Endless party rooms stretched in every direction beneath colorful lights. And standing in the center of the room were the partygoers, tall yellow humanoids with stretched smiles painted across their faces. The entities would happily welcome Gojo to the party, offering him cake and drinks while chanting in unison, "Come join us." At first, Gojo would play along out of pure curiosity. He'd even sit down at the table while casually spinning a balloon animal in his hand. But then his expression would slowly change, because underneath the sugary smell of the food, he'd detect blood. Human blood. One of the partygoers would suddenly lunge toward him with an inhuman scream, its jaw stretching impossibly wide. It would stop instantly against infinity. The entire room would go silent. Gojo would slowly stand up, and for the first time since entering the back rooms, he'd look genuinely irritated. "You know, you guys are way creepier than curses." The partygoers would attack all at once, dozens of them charging from every hallway. Gojo would remove his blindfold slightly, revealing the glowing blue eyes underneath. Then he'd extend one hand forward, cursed technique, lapse, blue. An enormous gravitational singularity would erupt in the center of the party room, violently pulling tables, balloons, walls, and partygoers inward. Their bodies would twist and compress into the collapsing space before being crushed into nothing. But more kept coming, hundreds of smiling figures flooding the halls endlessly. Finally, Gojo would sigh. All right, enough. He'd combine blue and red together. A massive sphere of distorted purple energy would form between his hands, warping the surrounding space itself. Hollow purple. The blast would fire through level fun like a cosmic eraser, completely annihilating entire sections of the level in an instant. Walls, floors, entities, even the air itself would vanish into nothingness as the attack carved a gigantic path across the infinite party rooms. And that's when the back rooms would decide Gojo had cheated. The floor beneath him would crack apart. Reality itself would distort. Then Gojo would suddenly find himself somewhere much worse. A broken void of corrupted hallways, floating structures, red warning lights, and impossible architecture glitched together like a dying computer simulation. This level wasn't meant for humans. Even Gojo could feel it. The entire environment constantly attempted to erase intruders from existence. Hallways looped infinitely. Gravity shifted every few seconds. Invisible forces attacked from every direction. And for the first time, infinity started malfunctioning. Not because it was weak, but because the space around Gojo itself had become unstable. The laws of distance barely existed here. Gojo would finally stop smiling. He'd realized the back rooms wasn't just a location. It was an entity, an intelligence, a cosmic system trying to contain him. Suddenly, massive distorted creatures would emerge from the darkness around him. Amalgamations of different entities fused together into towering horrors, specifically designed to bypass physical defenses. One creature would phase directly through infinity and slash Gojo across the shoulder for the first time. Blood. Actual blood. Gojo would stare at it silently, then laugh, not because it was funny, but because he finally found something capable of fighting back. The entire level would begin shaking as cursed energy exploded outward from his body. The pressure alone would tear apart nearby structures. Then, Gojo would activate his domain expansion, Unlimited Void. Instantly, the entire corrupted level would become flooded with infinite information. Every entity trapped inside the domain would freeze completely, their minds overloaded beyond comprehension. The creatures would stand motionless, unable to think, move, or even understand their own existence as endless knowledge consumed them. But something impossible would happen. The back rooms itself would resist the domain. The walls would begin rewriting themselves around Unlimited Void. Entire sections of the domain would distort unnaturally, as if the back rooms was actively trying to adapt to infinite information itself. Gojo's smile would slowly fade. Even his domain couldn't completely dominate this place, and that's when he'd finally decide to stop holding back. Cursed energy would surge through the entire level at catastrophic levels. Buildings would levitate, hallways would rip apart, the void itself would crack under the pressure. Gojo would raise both hands. Imaginary technique. Purple energy larger than entire city blocks would begin forming around him. Hollow purple. The final blast would erupt like a cosmic cannon. Everything in front of Gojo would disappear. Entire sections of the "You Cheated" level would be erased from existence as the attack tore through the back rooms itself. Space collapsed. Reality shattered. Infinite hallways folded inward and vanished into purple light. For several seconds, there was only silence. Then Gojo suddenly found found himself standing back in the exact same alleyway in Shinjuku where he first fell through reality. The Kikufuku mochi was still in his hand, completely untouched. Gojo would stare at the street silently for a moment before adjusting his blindfold again. Then he'd casually shrug and keep walking toward Tokyo Jujutsu High like nothing happened. But somewhere deep inside the infinite maze of the backrooms, the fluorescent lights would begin flickering violently, as if the backrooms itself was terrified that Satoru Gojo might someday come back.